Morning, welcome to the channel. My name is Niladri Mukherjee and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I practice here in Guelph, Ontario. So I just thought to address or to tell you as to what could be the potential impact of Government of Canada's new immigration plans would be for the upcoming applications, particularly on the upcoming temporary resident visa applications, because that seems to be the priority of the government as of right now. By temporary resident visa applications, I mean the student visa application, I mean the work permit applications, and I also mean the visit visa applications. If you have read the press release, you know by now that the government is now trying to enhance the usage of all the digital technologies or the advanced data analytics in sorting the applications. And we all know what sorting means. Sorting means in this context is that the software is going to basically tick all the boxes to see whether the application has all the correct documents or not. And whenever an application doesn't have any of those single documents, they will simply sidetrack that particular application. The logic behind that is very, very simple. The government knows it for sure, is that now that the express entry system has sort of kept into a sidetrack at least for the next few months, if not the whole of 2022, the number of candidates applying for particularly student visa is going to go up, and it is going to go up exponentially, particularly from countries like India, Philippines, Bangladesh, Pakistan, from where the number of applications are generally very, very high, right? So it makes sense to at least use the advanced analytics technologies for the applications that are coming from those countries, if not for all the countries. We do not know how the government uses that, but the press release itself is talking about the sorting of the applications with the usage of data analytics, which to you means that you need to be extremely careful, more careful than ever before, to submit a proper application, to submit a complete application, to submit an application that should be foolproof in your opinion, to ensure that it goes to an officer's desk. Because unless and until your application will have all the fields correctly ticked, unless and until you upload all the documents, unless and until you provide everything what the government is looking for, your file may not even reach to the officer's desk. And once it doesn't reach to the officer's desk on time, only God knows how long it's gonna take. You do not want that. We do not want that. So first step, make sure to submit an application in the complete manner, like ever before. It should be your priority from day one if you're submitting any of those temporary resident visa applications. Now, the second step, the government knows that now that the PR or the express entry has given a little bit of backbench, more and more people will be going, will be opting for the study visa route. Hence, obviously, you will be providing, the documents, you'll be getting an admission letter from a DLI, and all those things need to be correctly taken care of. The important additional step that you should always take care of, and more than ever before these days, is your letter of explanation or your statement of purpose. It has to be appropriately written. It has to be written like the way it is written in Canada, in an English that is comprehensible, in an English that is understandable, in a simple English, and it has to be, a legal letter of explanation. I cannot repeat that. It has to be a letter of explanation that should ideally cite the case laws, that should talk about the relevant sections of the immigration law and the immigration regulations of Canada. You do not have to write that you will go back to India just to preserve your country's heritage. Nobody's going to believe in that kind of a story, right? So it has to make sense. I personally read maybe 15-20 SOPs every single day from my clients. By looking at an SOP in the initial 5 minutes, I know whether that SOP is written by the applicant or by somebody else, and whether the SOP seems like a genuine SOP or not. The simple logic behind that is that if an applicant cannot score more than maybe CSB 6 in writing, he or she cannot use extremely difficult English words into an SOP to sound like he is extremely good in English. You do not really have to do it. Just be yourself. And obviously your agent, your consultant, your lawyer can write the SOP for you. But it has to make sense. Cultural heritage of the country, my elderly parents are very, very poor. All those things are fine, but it has to make more sense, right? It has to be specific, it has to be logical, it has to be, something else. The officer is not going to believe the fact that you're coming to Canada from India, for example, and after coming to Canada and staying here in Canada, maybe for 2 years, you will go back to India just to preserve your country's cultural heritage. Everybody in Canada knows, all the immigration officials know that the highest number of immigrants come from Canada, highest number of students are from Canada, highest number of visitors do come from Canada. The work permits holders are from India. I'm from India. So they're not going to believe something like a cultural heritage, right? So it has to be logical, it has to make sense, it has to justify your education, it has to justify your experience, it has to justify your employer requirements. If your employer is waiting back home for you to join back, meaning that it has to be more logical. Do not write an SOP that is not going to make sense to the immigration officer, and do not use unnecessarily difficult English words. People here write English in a very simplistic manner, like in the colloquial manner. You do not have to use extraordinarily hard words to to prove that you know English very, very well. Your IELTS result should prove that, right? So SOP, letter of explanation, statement of purpose, or like whichever you call it, is of paramount importance than ever before. And make sure to submit, as I really cannot stress this point enough, that you have to ensure that you submit a perfect application along with a very strong SOP from day one. Do not think that, well, I can submit an application, if it gets rejected then I will see what needs to be done. This is not the time for that. If your application gets rejected once, your application may be sidetracked when it is applied for the second time, because the government's idea or the objective is to give chance to each and every applicant that are applying for the first time. So use your judgment judiciously. Be very, very careful in submitting applications. Nowadays I could tell you that for all the temporary resident visa applications, you will see a general rejection rate like skyrocketing like anything. The rejection rate is definitely going to go up. Having said that, as I've always said, the officers are not sitting there to reject an application. They're sitting here to make a decision. And if your application is perfect, if your application is proper, you're bound to get a positive decision. If you need my professional assistance, let me know. Send me an email, contact@nuvonation.ca. Shall be glad to connect with you. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.